Hey, what's up, everybody? On the Upper West Side. I gotta go to Harlem right now. Little nippy night. Going to pick up the car. I can't leave the Honda in New York when I leave because they keep climbing the fence to try to steal it. So I gotta go up, put the Honda on the back of the Ford, and then I gotta go down because my dad has a problem in North Carolina, so I gotta go down there. He needs some help down there, so I'm heading down. He's not originally from North Carolina, neither am I. I don't have any ties to North Carolina at all. He's originally from New York, but he kind of like ended up in North Carolina because my sister is in Fort Bragg. Well, she was in Fort Bragg. Now she's out in Texas. Yeah, it's nice to be on the XR with the shield. I'll tell you, I like it. You know, it really transformed this bike. I mean, it's kind of goofy looking, and I gotta replace. I gotta figure out where I can get like a plastic washer because it vibrates a little bit. But that's my fault. When you know, when I installed it, I fucked up and dropped like 2 of the washers. So, but that's really important when you put the screen on, not to lose those washers, because it makes like a little rattling sound because of you know the bike when the RPMs are going up, the vibration. Not a big deal. So it's something really easy, you know, to take care of. But aside from that, the bike's great. I mean, it really transformed the bike into something that can be used into like these nippy days when it's about to come. Because right now I can feel like there's no wind on me. It's really nice, you know. So I'm gonna post a video on this Zeta Windscreen as a second review on it. You know, talking about the Zeta Windscreen and what are my thoughts on it. You know, but definitely it's good to go, man. It'll transform the XR for you. But I don't think you would want it. Let's say you live in Santa Barbara and you're riding up in the mountains, you know, and you go up in San Luis Obispo and you're hitting the trails. I don't think you'd want this thing. I mean, it would just be annoying. It's definitely not for everybody, you know what I mean? And if you're living in Cali with those high-speed freeways, you know, I don't think you'd want an XR. You know, you wouldn't use it for that. It's the wrong bike for the job, you know. But this bike is absolutely perfect in New York City. I have to admit, man, because just being on the KLR the other day made me realize, you know, how nice it is to be on something that weighs, you know, so much less. I think that's really so important to ride in the city. You want something that's under 400 pounds. And I know I keep talking about that, and a lot of people are probably like, you know, dude, what's your deal, man? Aren't you strong? You know, can't you lift it? You know, but if you've ever been in a city and like it's cold on a cold rainy day and have a taxi cut you off or something, and you drop a KLR, it's not a fun thing. I mean, first of all, you're in a little bit of shock, and then you're exhausted, you know. and then to be dealing with that, a dropped bike that weighs, and a KLR by no means is a heavy bike. I mean, when I lived in LA, KLR was actually kind of small for the freeway. I felt like it was underpowered, and I felt like it was just too much of. I needed something with more power when you get up on the freeway and you want to do like 90, But now, I'm like thinking, wow. Definitely the KLR is a good bike, but a bit on the heavy side. For New York City. But it's not the other problem is you get used to it. One thing I do realize also is when I get on the KLR, it takes me a good couple of weeks to get used to it. I do like the fact that the KLR, though, in the really cold winter months, is got a bigger gas tank, so less stopping for gas. And then the KLR it's because it's heavier bike overall. In the city, you do a lot of rear braking because, you don't want to lose. The worst thing that can happen in the city is losing control of that front wheel. So you do like combo braking and a lot of rear braking. Because you're really not going fast enough to like totally skid all over the place. You can stomp on that rear brake and then start pulling in the front. Also do the combo braking. If you hear the back wheel slide a little bit, you just let off of it a little bit and then add some more front brake. But the KLR definitely handles that rear braking better. This bike is too light. Once you start to apply too much rear brake, you're just sliding. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. It's a light bike, And, technically, you're really not supposed to be using the rear brake too much. It's meant for maintaining control and stuff like that. But if you really have to apply some serious braking, it should be the front brake. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But not understanding rear braking is also a mistake. You got to understand when the right time to use. In the dead of winter when it's cold and your tires are a little bit slippery, you definitely want to be applying some rear braking to maintain the bike, in a straight line. No, if you were going in a straight line, but if you're going around the turn and you're applying rear brake really hard, you're just going to lose that back wheel, and then you're laying the bike down the same as you would on the front brake. In a turn, you've really got to understand how to keep the bike upright, and I can't really explain how you're going to do it, but you got to get a feel for it. There's no other way. You just have to know how to maintain control of the bike and avoid a collision, or abrupt collision stop, or something that's going to bring you to a stop very quickly, because that's when you have injuries. As long as you can slow the bike down to enough that it's an XR, you lay it down, it's not a big deal. Make a little contact with the side of a car, not a big deal. But it happens. Shit happens. I mean, you can't avoid it. It's New York City. What do you want? People know that. And they understand that. I've never had anybody freak, like when I tap the side of the car because they cut me off, But it's not a habit you want to get into either. But definitely if you have an XR, it's a great city bike. From what I can, I've tried many different bikes. When I was living in LA, I had a Buell XP9 SX. The Buell XP9 SX was absolutely perfect for LA city traffic. It was like a nimble little machine that just carved its way through traffic. But that bike would be not very good for New York City. Air cooled. Well, this is air cooled too, though. But the roads here would just destroy like a Buell. And maybe you'd crack a rim or whatever. Those dismounted brakes might get destroyed. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. Whereas this XR, the worst thing you look at is a bent rim. If you hit like a real nasty pothole, it's not a huge big deal for you. Oh yeah, the guy, I got a message from NYC Hustle. Hey, NYC Hustle, it's a shout out to you. I'm here on 127 turning. What's up, NYC Hustle? I don't know where you at, but how's it going, man? It's a cool guy. He left me a message that he goes, you're right around where I'm at. So I don't know, he must be living in one of these buildings. Kind of late for him to see me, unless he was in the street here. Psychotherapy, that's the one he mentioned. That's a motorcycle dealership right there. They got the whole building. They got stacked with motorcycles. All the floors. I don't know how they get those fucking things in and out of there. So yeah, I came to get the bike because I can't leave it here when I leave town. I could have my neighbor watch it, but on the Upper West Side, but that's a lot of responsibility for him. I don't want to put that on somebody's shoulders. Like if something happens to the bike, I mean, what's going to happen? We wouldn't argue about it, but it would be sad. He'd have to on his watch. And the guy, he works for the courts in the Bronx. He can't be staying up all night, like watching the bike. It's just too much. So that's the deal. Alrighty, buddy. See you on the next one.